I would like to invite upon Sandeep. Sandeep basically is our next speaker. He is an accomplished QA professional with over 16 years of progressive experience and proven record of significant contribution in quality engineering, quality management, test automation. He has executed multiple large and complex projects for web and mobile products with a variety of functional domains. In his quality leadership capacities in various organizations, he has built strong QA teams from scratch or transformed ineffective teams into vibrant teams through his technical leadership. He is basically in his current role as director of SpurQ Labs Technologies. He's helping startups, small and mid-sized enterprises expedite the quality and improve time to market while lowering the cost. Let's basically welcome Sandeep here. A big round of applause for Sandeep, guys. Sandeep, can you hear us? Are you there?
Yeah, I can. Can you all hear me?
Yes. And Sandeep, did you look at the poll results? I think this
yeah,
is
I'll go with that in a moment.
I will stop sharing the results right away and I'll unshare so that you can basically share the screen now. All right?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. They are healthy and in right mindset to learn, unlearn, relearn, and open for change, as Ritu mentioned. And at this time, when you are actually going through very difficult time, everyone, when sometimes your mental health is not very good, even it affects your work as well as your family. You're not very used to being with your family as well, right? So sometimes that affects. But let's get into I would like to talk about the poll results quickly. So about 39% of you said that you are responsible for automation, security testing, but only 30% of you said that you are using Zap or any security testing. So that means there is a gap of about 9% of not using any tool. That means you guys are either doing it manually or you have your custom built applications to do that. Anyhow, I'm going to share my screen now.
Yes, you can share your screen now and you can go ahead and go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So I'm not a big fan of slides. Sometimes they take a lot of my time to even prepare and I don't find right artifacts or images. So I don't just do it. So this is my first attempt to do all of that using mind map. I hope all of you are aware or have used mind map sometime. So we're going to deep dive into a few of these aspects and you can interrupt me anytime during this session. So we're going to, and this is just to get warmed up about what security testing is and why we should not be scared about it. What are different jargons, terms, and tools which are used in security testing. So everyone actually basically knows about security testing and the wording or a process that goes through it and the intention for doing security testing. Everybody is aware of that because nowadays, even latest example of ransomware attack on a reputed company actually highlights the fact of doing a lot of security testing and doing it continuously in DevSecOps. So without wasting time, I'm going to get into each one of these aspects and we will start with why we are scared. Right now, even if you go out in the lockdown period, if you see a cop, you get scared, right? And similarly, when you hear about security testing in your organization, if your product asks you to do a security testing or ask your opinion about security testing, or if you are not aware of that or you are not skilled at that, sometimes you get scared. So there are two roles here. As a tester, we get scared because we have a perception that it is very difficult and it has formed basically during our career. We have ignored that because maybe it is very tough to understand various jargons. There is neophobia or centophobia. Um, there was one difficult word that even Mr. Garg used today and explained it for there is a phobia there, or there is a phobia of new things, or phobia of change, which needs to be actually looked at, because everybody has to change, learn, relearn, unlearn, as Ritu pointed out. There is lack of knowledge, obviously. As a tester, sometimes we are scared because we do not know enough about the tools, technologies, and processes used in that particular testing type, and technical expertise, of course. So as a tester, we are scared. And then as a business is more scared because the tester used for that does not know enough about it. And there are two aspects. There are two impacts. One is a direct impact on the performance of the application, on the availability of the application, and obviously the cost, which is if you do not do security testing, what is the impact of fixing cost once the security vulnerability is uncovered. There is a legal cost if somebody sues your company for um, maybe exposing their data or losing their data. And there is ransom cost, of course, as I mentioned earlier. So there is a direct impact, as you can see, and there is also an indirect impact of losing customers' trust, losing the reputation in the market, and losing any future business because of that. So business also is scared of this word security testing. And as a tester, we are also scared of security testing if we have not learned it, or if we have not started to learn it. So to tell you frankly, guys, even I am not a security expert. I have been into various types of testing since beginning of my career, including manual testing, functional testing, UI, UX, API, UI automation, mobile automation, and there are many more specializations. Security is one of the specializations that every tester needs to dwell in. The reason I'm saying that is because nowadays you see compartmentalization in your testing space. Everybody focuses on their own area of expertise. For example, I'm a UI automation engineer, SDET, a fancy word. Even we use that in our company. But that does not mean that you should ignore all other aspects of the quality, right? So you have a lot of characteristics of your product to test. Um, Security is one of them, performance, you have your availability. There are lot many, and you can devise lot of testing types for all of those. But end goal is to have a good quality product for your customer, right? So that is what should drive you guys to learn anything and everything that comes your way. So if you have to, I mean, that is my perspective. I'm more of a generalist than being a specialist into one of those, because smaller companies, startups, or the customers I cater cannot afford a security engineer I mean, the rates are like skyrocketing, right? So a security evaluation company, or a V assessment company, or a full-fledged pen test engineer would cost like um, many dollars. I mean, it can be hundreds of dollars per hour. They cannot afford it because that's not their um, they have not grown into that kind of business yet. They are still starting, but they still want to make sure that their product is at least meeting the bare minimum standard for security. And what are those requirements basically? So in security testing, there is Following are some of the requirements that we always look for: confidentiality, which is protection of information, or making sure that the disclosure of information is only given to the intended party. Integrity is about the information is not modified by unauthorized users. Authorization is about confirming the identity of the person and tracing the origin of the artifact. And availability is, of course, about having access to your application when you really need it. So authorized user should always have access to the system. And authorization is about access control and RBAC. And non-repudiation is about tracing the sender and receiver of the information, making sure that it is traced. They cannot deny that the transaction of the information actually happened. So these are some of the requirements which we normally test as part of security testing. And these are very important aspects of our software that we test and one must care about. Now, I'll delve into some of the common terms that are used in security testing. So you might have heard about some of the jargons already, but let's go over it one more time. So discovery is a phase or a process by which we identify the versions used in a software package. So nowadays, whether you are using .NET, Java, Node.js, whatever tech stack you're using, mean stack or whatever stack, we are consuming a lot of packages which are already available there, whether npm, npm, maven, or whatever framework you're using to consume them. You are always using a lot of packages. And discovery phase or discovery process in security testing is about identifying those versions in your application and checking whether there are any deprecated versions already. So some of the deprecated versions may already have security vulnerability. So discovery is the process to identify those versions. Now, vulnerability scan is checking the known security issues and vulnerability scan. Vulnerability scan make sure that it compares and checks for any known security issues known to the tool and the security engineer as well. So mostly it is automated because a lot of the security testing tools nowadays available already have fed in a lot of data about the known security issues. Okay, so vulnerability scan is mostly about that. A vulnerability assessment is about manual verification of issues that we have found, or the vulnerabilities those are already scanned by the security testing tools is actually checked manually. Security assessment is also a similar process where we are checking for any of the existing issues in our application while we are doing security testing, either through automated way or manual way. Pen test is about an simulated attack. So you assume that you are a hacker or a tester who has a malicious intent, person with a malicious intent, and you involve in exploitation of the vulnerabilities of the application, which you might have already got information from in any of the previous stages, like discovery or vulnerability scan. You have already discovered a vulnerability, and you are intentionally going behind that vulnerability to pinpoint and find out what is happening there, whether you can actually gain any further access or get the access to the data, etc. Then you have security audits. So mostly in bigger organizations where you have the security teams, they have the processes and compliances for these big organizations. And what they do is they audit for the specific controls or the compliances in your testing process, whether you are doing code reviews, whether you are doing automated scans, all of that is called a security audit. And then they basically give you CAPAs if you're not following some of the aspects of it. Lastly, security review is verification of industry or internal security standards. And all of these terms are basically out there for discovery and knowledge. So you can obviously go ahead and learn about these aspects yourself. All of these are, as I said, jargon. So uh, lot of times what happens is we just take aback because of lot of buzzwords used around it, and security testing is one of them. uh, lot of There is lot of encoded words or acronyms used, which makes us feel that it is very difficult, but it is not, to tell you frankly. You can at least do first vulnerability scan in about 15 minutes. If I show you how to do that, you will do it in less than 15 minutes once this session is done. Because you do not have to have any prior knowledge of security testing or OWASP or any vulnerability scanning tools or techniques. Now, there are a lot of tools, commercial off the shelf or free open source tools available. And I have picked 9 of each, because there are so many. I mean, like functional automation or API automation or any other performance testing, you will see top 20, top 15, but I don't know, 9 is my number. So I'll go with that. And following the list of top 9, in my opinion, in the open source arena. So OWASP Zap is what I started with, and I'm going to stick with it for some more time. But I also like some of these, like SQL Map, because OWASP internally Zap uses SQL Map. There is Nmap, W3AF, SonarQube obviously has some vulnerability scanning capabilities are already embedded into their code review and vulnerability assessment. Then you have Grabber, Wapiti, WFuzz, and Wireshark. Wireshark, mostly network sniffing and all of that can be done by Wireshark. But the reason I started security testing was by accident, that somebody asked me, now that we are doing a lot of, API testing and UI testing, how do we make sure that your application is secure? And give me a quick, like within 2 days, tell me how many vulnerabilities we have compared to global standards. And I had to do a quick assessment of that. And that's what OWASP Zap actually helped me. But we'll delve into that a little bit more. All right. So commercially, there are a lot of tools available as well. Burbsuit is was open source, I guess, at one point, but then it is now commercial tool. Micro Focus 45, Micro Focus also has another web inspect tool. 45 is, I think, the most, it has the most coverage in the security arena. People mostly use 45 for their VA scans and everything, and pen test as well. Veracode is another entity, and you can go through all of these later. Silk Test is also one of good tools. check marks, tenables, ACS, and Beyond Trust Retina are the ones at the end of the trail because they have not picked up a lot of customers here. So there are a lot of tools, but you have to start somewhere, and somewhere is where you feel comfortable with. If you are comfortable with command line tools, you can go with maybe Grabber, Wapiti, or maybe W3AF. If you are comfortable looking at UI and basically UI is your way, then you can go with Zap or SonarQube. And before diving any further, are there any questions? Am I going too fast, too slow?
No, I think it's all going great. No
Okay.
questions so far. I'm seeing no questions in the chat as well. Maybe when you start showing the demo of the tool, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So now the last point on this slide and the last point for us to understand is very important. OWASP, that is more of a standard nowadays. Everybody talks about it. It is Open Web Application Security Project. So there are a lot of security experts coming together to form a consortium to actually categorize the number of vulnerabilities and number of security issues. So this is the list of actually OWASP top 10. This is the top 10 vulnerabilities that can be present in any application. And you can obviously go to the website of OWASP top 10 and read more about it. Mostly people would feel comfortable that when they hear about SQL injection or cross-site scripting, they are basically there. You see that A1 injection and there is cross-site scripting here. Then man-in-middle attack and all of those jargons are hidden somewhere here. But you can definitely, I would recommend that you go through their website, the OWASP top 10, and it is basically OWASP.org. And that is where you will learn more about specifics of these and how they are categorized. And there is a lot of information available. The current standard is definitely a little old in number of years is 2 or maybe 3. It's 2017, but they are working on it to release the next version of OWASP top 10. All right, so without wasting a lot of time, I'll get into the real tool, which is OWASP Zap. So now OWASP Zap is actually an open source tool. It is available for anybody to download and look at. And it is available for any platform. It is available for Linux, Windows, or Mac. And it is free, and they claim that it is going to be free forever. The beauty of OWASP Zap is in the simplicity of using it, right? So once you download OWASP Zap, which only requires maybe Java, and once you have Java, basically you can download any of the versions you are comfortable with. And there is a lot of documentation around how to install the Zap tool. They have revamped their UI recently. So when I looked at it like 4 or 5 years back, and when I look at it now, there is a lot of difference in how Zap is portraying itself. They have now new videos and how to automate with Zap, and they have bettered their APIs as well. So you can do security testing yourself manually through your UI of this Zap tool and also through automated API. So I'll show you both of them to you so that you understand how to do that quickly. So once you download, there are, as I said, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and cross-platform packages. I have downloaded Windows 64 installer and installed it. Once you download it, it basically is available for you to open on Windows 10, you just type in Zap and you open it. I already have opened the UI. So this is the first welcome page that you will see for OWASP Zap. And there is a quick start where you can right away start your automated testing. So if you have a web application, you can start your automated scan here. Right now, I have downloaded their testing tool. I could have shown you any other application which is available. There are a lot of free tools or free websites available, which can be targeted for um, testing. So hack this site is one of them. There are a lot of challenges available, but you can go through that later. So hack this site is one of the sites which gives out a lot of challenges for new hackers, and it is safe as they claim. There are a lot of information available on, and there are a lot of missions are also available for hacking. So you can go through that. There is also a Google website called Google Guide AppSpot, and that is also available for you to hack into, and they have also some of the challenges in security testing. So this is a good resource for anybody to look into for learning more about security testing and all the tools and technologies used by bigger organizations. All right. So when you open Zap, I have installed their application called OWASP Juice Shop. It is Node.js backend and frontend. So you can basically have, if you have Node installed, you can download the application either by their release or package distribution, or you can download or clone their code. You can do npm install and start it. But this is just a sample application. And one disclaimer I want to give that only test, security test, pen test, or hack websites that you are allowed to do. Do not attempt in doing that on any other websites. If you get caught, then either me or Zap or nobody else is responsible for that. To make sure that you only use the technology wisely. So there is a lot of information available on GitHub about Juice Shop and how to use that. But I'm going to use that for my local testing. The functionality is very simple. You can select Juice product, and then you can maybe give reviews, etc. And there are a lot of bugs also available for this. You see that I have already solved some of the challenges. Actually, I didn't do anything. These challenges are solved by Zap. So I'm going to quickly get into a quick mode, which is basically pasting your URL here. So once you open Zap, once you have installed it correctly, what you can do is you can copy your application URL, you can paste it here, and then you can use two of the spiders. You can either use your traditional spider or your Ajax spider. Ajax spider is mostly used by for Java JavaScript frontend, as if they are using Ajax more of. But traditional spider will also do. It can also find out the vulnerabilities. But Ajax would be better for JavaScript application. So once you have pasted your URL here, you can basically say attack. And what this will do is it will spider through your application, and then you can see the vulnerabilities into your alerts, right? So to give you an overview of the UI, this is a quick start pane. On the left-hand side, you will see a tree of all your URLs inside your application. So as you know, all of our websites are a lot of pages and paths and URLs, right? So you will see that tree map of your website here or web application here. And you will see the alerts here. You can see the request and responses going to and fro in these two tabs. So I'll start attack right now. And basically what Zap believes is you can right click anywhere and see more information or more options. So do right click and explore the application more. And don't be afraid of using Zap, at least with the test application, right? You will learn more about, you start your progress of learning security testing slowly. So I say attack, and what it does is it spiders through the web application. As you can see, there are a lot of URLs it is scanning, and those URLs will also be listed here. And once it is done with that, it will do an active scan on your application. There are two types of scans, active scan and passive scan. Um, Passive scan is just looking for known vulnerabilities in your request responses. So if you can see, if I select any of the requests, you will see the request there and the response there. So passive scanner is only going to look at your request and responses and see if there are any known issues. Okay. Active scan, on the other hand, is going to inject. It is going to attack. It is going to be more of an active agent in security testing. So it will look for opportunities to do cross-site scripting, SQL injection, XSRF, etc., etc. So in your quick and dirty automated scan, it is going to do a spider attack. I mean, it is going to crawl through all your URLs and it is going to do an active scan. And you will see the result of the vulnerabilities in your alerts. So you can see that the report already mentions that there are about 29 domain misconfigurations in this project, and there is a URL here. This reports, if you double click on any of these alerts, will show you what kind of vulnerability or issue that is, and what is the risk. And it is medium risk, and this is standardized. You can also change it, but I would normally keep it as is. There is also CWID and WASCID, and these are basically standards referring to common. I'll just show you. So okay. So there is a web application security consortium, which actually lists the number of issues and their possible fixes as well. So if you can see, our report actually showed WASCID is 14. So if you look at number 14, which is server misconfiguration, and you can deep dive into what server misconfiguration means, and then what are the examples of that. There are also a lot of documentation available for how to fix this normally, but there are two websites which list these common issues and weaknesses. There is this WASCID and there is this CWEID. Now, if you have worked with any US customers, US customers who are actually working in government organizations or government domain, then there is a body called NIST, which actually is a third-party system which has a lot of standards created. CWE is actually a standard created by another security um, uh, body like WASP or Common Web Consortium, and they also have their list of issues categorized in different format, and they also have um, uh, the more information and common consensus about what we should do and what we should not. They have also given out a lot of examples how to fix them. So these are the two resources that you can use to give more informations to developers if they really want to know what is happening. But typically what happens is with the alert itself, or when we are going to use API for that matter, we will see the description of the vulnerability. We will see any other information about that vulnerability or an issue. We will also see the potential fix for that vulnerability, and then we will see any references to that. And there, if they want more information, you can guide them to the URL for CWEID and WASCID. Basically, that is freely available to anyone. So once you understand what is going on, you can see that there are a lot of alerts coming. You can report these to your developers. There is a better way to report it through API because it actually creates a um, HTML report. So now I'll go into that in a moment. So any questions till now, at least on how to get things started on OWASP Zap?
No, I think it is going extremely smooth. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Keep it up there.
All right. So my advice is to always look for what could be useful for you. So in active scan, if you look for any of the URLs and try to make sense out of it, you will definitely learn more and more about it. There is also a manual exploration that is available. So if you can do a manual exploration, before that I will just start a new session. When you start a new session, this will ask you whether you want to persist your Zap session. Basically, there is a database used to persist the information from previous sessions. I typically don't do that unless I'm working on a project. So there is a manual explore, which will actually explore your application. You can launch it from browser. It will enable this normal behavior of spying your application. And the advice is to explore your application as much as you can so that you can explore the vulnerability. So there are two ways you can do that. You can either do it through your manual testing when you're testing or doing monkey testing or exploratory testing. And as most of us are now into automation and there is a lot of regression tests available, why not hook it with an automated test, right? So you also have a API available, and there is a lot of documentation about how to use API for Java, Python, and many more languages. So when you do launch browser for manual exploration, your API, your Zap will start exploring the application as well and trying to see where are the vulnerabilities. So it will start recording each of the URL. As I explore more and more, you can also use their authentication. I have not tried this yet, but you can also use behind the authentication pages as well. Okay. Okay. It has started recording. As you can see, there is a lot of activity happening here.
So while that is going on, there are two questions. One Srinivas asked, since it shows so many vulnerabilities, the tool shows. Can all they be fixed, or should we be fixed? That is one.
Yeah, that is a good question.
And
I'll
second,
take next question. Yeah, go
sure.
ahead.
Yeah, next question from Pankaj. He says, how about passive scanning? How do you do that?
Okay, I'll show you how to do that. Actually, when you start your um, Zap, it will automatically start doing passive scan, right? So when you're doing this manual exploration, that's where your passive scanning is already working in behind the scene. So that is the answer to second question. The answer to first question is about how much time do you have, right? Testing cannot be completed in bazillion number of years. Even if you have 1,000 line of codes, you cannot complete testing for that application if you do exhaustive testing. So you and your company needs to decide how much testing is enough and what are number of vulnerabilities or type of vulnerabilities that we are going to fix. My advice is definitely to fix all high and medium vulnerabilities and look at low vulnerabilities and anything that is to do with information. You can maybe park it later, but my choice would be to at least fix high and medium vulnerability. Those are more severe, which needs to be looked into from the risk perspective as well. Some of the vulnerabilities, even if they look very small, could be very risky to your business, and you can just, relate it to high severity and low priority, and low priority and high severity defects. It is all from the perspective of the company and the domain that you are working in. Okay, so as much as you you can explore the application, and once you are done with that, you can close this and report these vulnerabilities to your developers. Make sure that you're thorough enough to actually um, try to capture a lot of information here. Okay, now I'm going to switch to an API mode. So by default, when you start your Zap, it already has your API at 9090. So let me go back to 9090. So 9090 is the port where I have started my Zap. And it has local API, and you have a lot of information about the homepage, user groups, developer groups, report and issue, etc. So local API shows you what are the APIs available from your Zap. There is an alert. There is, the ones that we have just seen are the active scan, there is passive scan, there is spider, there is also something called Selenium. I'll go over that in a bit. There is session management, there is quick start and launch, which actually we just used. But particularly what I want you to look at is the active scan and passive scan. We are not going to go through UI to do this, definitely, but we will use a mechanism through our code, which we mostly like. But there is also a documentation available for how to use the Zap as an API, right? There are examples available for Python, Java, and Shell. As I'm using .NET, which is not the stack for demo, but I have already installed a package, and I'll go into the code in a bit. But I want you to understand that for every technology, there is a example here on how you can use that. So this is an example of how you can set up Zap, start Zap, and then you can go to active scan or passive scan, and then you can see how it is used. Um, okay, so without wasting a lot of time, I'll get into the code. Okay, so this is my typical framework, which is configurable, modular, simple, all of those attributes with BDD in it. It has application configuration and framework configuration separate. In .NET particularly, as a lot of information is already available for Python, Java, and Shell, I thought why not explore .NET. I mostly am working on .NET since last 3-4 years. So I had to investigate what is the solution available. So the package that you need to install if you are using .NET is OWASP. Give me a second. I'll show you. OWASP Zap.NET API, and you can search for it by just looking at Google OWASP Zap NuGet. And I think the first one is the one that you will see. So this is the API available. The latest version is 2.8.0. Okay, so that is one that I have used in my package. What I have done is I have actually created a Zap util into my utility where it needs to start as a daemon process rather than UI. So when you are using or it in continuous integration mode, you want to be able to launch it as a daemon process rather than launching a UI. So this is the code to start the Zap UI. You are basically trying to start an exe file in a daemon mode. This is UI. I have kept it just for information. There is a daemon process to start on 127.0.0.1 port 9090, and that's why my API starts on 9090. You can change this pretty much anytime. You can, when you are putting your solution in CI/CD, I have not done that, but there are two easiest way to do that. One is to do host it at agent, whether it is Jenkins agent or maybe Azure agent, and just expose this to your CI/CD pipeline. And then you can, once you are connected from your wherever you are running your test to your Zap, you can basically start your
Sandeep, can we
test.
request you to wrap in 5 minutes? Just a time
Yeah,
check.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to show you guys what we have done. So these are the API tests. Let me bring up the, I'm going to change my framework mode to API. There is a simple API that I have created, which is basically to create a to-do list. And once I launch it, it's going to be empty. It will, there is a CRUD operation, create So it is going to create an entity when I run this test, which is in my .NET framework. So what I'm saying is I verify the ability to create a new to-do item through an API. And I send the request to create a to-do item with drink is complete, which is false. And then I get the response back that it is created. Now, when I'm creating such a simple automated test, I want to also make sure that my Zap runs with either in active or passive scan mode. So I have hooked in my Zap util methods or functions inside my hooks, which is basically my base steps, where I am before my test run, I'm starting my daemon process. So here I'm starting Zap daemon. When I'm shutting down Zap util, I'm writing my HTML reporter and shutting down my Zap. When I'm running a scenario, basically, I want my scanning to be enabled. So uh, I am doing a lot of stuff here, but basically what I'm trying to do is doing a spidering or doing active scanning, if it is active mode or passive mode. So I can pretty much write a lot of code around how I want to do scanning because there is a lot of flexibility. For both active and passive scanning, you can do a poll for whether your active scanning is completing or completed or not, or your polling is completed or not. So that is how you actually code for timing. This code is pretty much available in any of these functions, right? So if you explore this API documentation, you will definitely get a lot of code easily available for your consumption right away. In Java, it's pretty much easy because it is just copy paste and run in get in your utils file. When I run this test, it is going to create an entity because that is what the test is. It is going to assert that the entity is created, and this will create a test run folder here in which I will see my Zap report. This is basically it because you want to attack either in passive mode or active scan mode your application while you are doing your automated function testing. Whether it is API or UI, it should not matter. So you can create your hooks, your before test, after test, before suit, after suit, and use these APIs to basically run your active scanning or passive scan. Okay, and the HTML reporter available by default with Zap is very fantastic. It will give you the similar or even better reports than what you have seen in your Zap UI. You can basically just pick it up and send it to your developers. Okay, so my test is completed and I see that along with my normal extend reports, I also have my Zap reports, which is this, and it has wonderfully given me lot of vulnerabilities. It has mixed bag because my current session I did not end very well uh, with my earlier scan, but let me search quickly. Yeah. So this is my local 44314 sitemap.xml. These are my vulnerabilities found for specific to that API. And you can see that it has similar description, the URL, the evidence, it has that CWE ID, WAC ID, the instances, number of instances that it has offered, the solution for it, and the references for it. So you can directly export this report and send it to your developers. You see that there are medium 7 uh, vulnerabilities. So I would at least try to fix these many when I'm reporting this. And it should be, when you are saying that DevSecOps needs to be a new normal, you should be able to hook this into your continuous integration platform and run it there. I also have a working demo there for DevSecOps, but as it is client proprietary, I'm not able to show it, and I couldn't create it again for this demo. But it is very much easy. There is also a lot of information and a lot of ways to do it. When I'm showing this to you, was Zap. Let me explore this again, unfold all of my sub branches. So results, you have tree map and alerts in UI. And Zap in CI you can do in hosted mode or Dockerized mode. So there is lot of information available on how the Docker is used. So let me show that here. Go back to yeah. So there is a lot of Docker information available as well, and you can use the stable or live version of Docker. You can just Docker pull, and there are a lot of commands available for you to use that into your CI/CD mode. Just by sending a URL, you can actually scan your application, generate a report, and send that to your development team. And that is very easy. Understand that there is no rocket science here in just using a scanner to scan your application and get fantastic reports like this. Okay, any questions for me?
Yeah, I think we probably are overshooting the time. So if you can quickly wrap it up, I would request others to basically put your question in the chat. And Sandeep, if you get a time, look at the chat and you can answer them while we start the next session. Would that be okay as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So is it done? I think it was really wonderful. You actually covered the entire cycle and you gave the insight on how do you bring it in the code and also bring it into what would be really relevant with reference to the DevSecOps CI/CD pipeline by also showing that you can Dockerize the Zap. So a big round of applause, guys. So can we all have a big round of applause for Sandeep here? It was really, really insightful, Sandeep. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Okay. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Thanks a lot. Big round of applause. Guys, you can open up your mics and start applauding now.